exhaust there. What?
Turned it.
Okay. Let's come back here and try and start it then.
Nothing lit up in here though. Some gauges popped. Nothing made noise. Nothing.
It was a silver switch under the dashboard?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a turn switch or a toggle switch?
Turn.
Okay. Well, that's the, if you have to shut the engine off, that's the switch to flip up there too. Go ahead and just try bumping that starter button. Nothing?
I think this is in the off position, right?
Try turning it one notch.
Because this would go to these and the other side would go.
He said down, and I don't know how the switch turns.
I'm assuming that's down there.
Yeah. Maybe the key has to be in the on position up there too. He didn't say that, but definitely has an exhaust leak. I see freaking, there was just
Coming out of here?
coming out of there smoke. Let's turn that to the 200 amps on the charger behind me.
Maybe not.
What? Is that smoking?
Yeah.
Try and clip that on a little better.
Great. Turn 200 again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Even on startup, it's smoking. Watch.
I didn't see it smoke there, but I saw smoke come out of the exhaust manifold.
No, that's not a leak.
Man, it's got exhaust leaking out of there too. All right, let's let the batteries charge then for a while. Very loose. Try the top one. I saw it leaking a lot too. It's gonna be sit there. Go ahead and try and start it again. Well, that was weird. Did the air pressure cause it to shut down? Do you think the switch was already off?
It was already on. Or no. It was in the off position.
Because that was almost like the governor shut it down. Like that. Ready? I'm gonna try it again. Ready again? Okay, we figured out it was shutting down because this key was in the off position and it was pushing the governor to no fuel, so it should start now and run.
Ready?
Yep. All right, now that we got this bus running again, let's take it for a run on the dyno. Well, this got towed in because there's definitely coolant in the oil here, so it's kind of like a milkshake on there. It got overheated. 70-degree outdoor air temperature, 70s. Climbing some light hills, so Alabama type stuff. It should have not overheated. So something's going on. Water pump, possibly. Radiator plugged up. That's the first thing I'm gonna look at. I'm gonna pull that upper hose off and get a camera down in there and take a look at that radiator and see how it's how well it is, if it's all plugged up on the inside with corrosion and stuff. Another contributing factor is that they had just had it at the shop getting work done. They worked on the exhaust. They put a new exhaust manifold on it there the trip prior to it overheating. New manifold gaskets. Again, we found this side leaking already on here, both sides, so I don't think they ever touched that. But his turbo boost was only 15. Look, you can see evidence of soot on there. That's how bad that was leaking out of there. But I saw it when we tried to start it. But another contributing factor is that, I can't open it right now, but the exhaust pipe fell off back there. So the exhaust is just straight piped right now, right in, it's just below those batteries where it ends. So it just, exhaust gas is just right into the engine bay. So that adds to the heat in here too. But none of that should have caused it to overheat. But if the radiator's plugged up or something, or the water pump's bad, then that would have done it. Now, he thought the engine needed a rebuild. That's why he sent it here. The shop where he had it at, big national chain, their next step was going to pull the engine out of the bus and do an out-of-frame rebuild on it. I don't think it needs that. It started in really cold weather. It did not smoke bad. You heard it come up the hill. It came up the hill with tons of power. I actually had to let off on it a little bit. So it's got plenty of power. The engine is not cooked. What we're going to do is we're going to drop the oil pan. We will replace the main bearings and rod bearings just automatically because, you know, the water in the oil is not good for it. But once we get that oil pan off, we'll pressurize the cooling system, and hopefully we'll be able to see which side of the engine that water is coming from. Hopefully it's coming from one of the heads. Maybe it's just got a crack in a head, or maybe an O-ring went bad on a liner and we can see it come down between the cylinder liner and the block. That's what we're hoping to see, is which side it's going to come out of. We took off one inspection port over here and I didn't see anything blatantly obviously wrong with it. This side's a lot harder to get to, so I didn't pull one off on this side. But if there's coolant in the inspection ports, then that would tell us which side it was doing it as well. Thermostats could be bad. A thermostat could be bad. Like we saw on Jerry's bus, one thermostat went bad. So if we run it up to temperature, we can check these and see if they're opening and closing. But he wanted to replace them before, but the bolts are seized in there, which that always happens. It's a big project to get them out. It's a great big long bolt that goes through there, and it corrodes in there, and it doesn't want to ever come out. So anyways, our next step is to get this in the shop. It's got all kinds of electrical problems. The start procedures on this is absolutely crazy. You got all these extra battery switches back here. You got a switch under the dashboard. The key in front doesn't work, but you got to turn the key to the on position. And then this one back here needs to be in the on position. If it's in the off position, which it was, we started it, and then after it built up a little bit of air pressure, it shut down the engine. And come to find out, it was this switch here. So the switch does work, but it doesn't work as a starter. So you got to flip these switches. That's the starter button there on it. So it's had a bunch of things kind of just messed around with it. So I don't know what's been done, you know, electronically to the engine and stuff. Is going to be a nightmare if there's an issue with that. But right now, coolant in the oil is the big thing. Everything else is really good with it. Main bearings, rod bearings, like I said, will replace because there's been coolant in the oil. But typically a 92 series, you want to change them about 150,000 miles anyways. So it's just do it and be done with it. We'll have the oil pan off. It's I don't know, $600-700 in parts and 1 day's labor. At that point, we already had the oil pan off. So pretty easy to do. Not even a full day's labor, I'm sure. But it's a beautiful bus, man. This thing is nice. I feel bad that he's having problems with it. We're gonna have to change the differential fluid in it because there's water in there. Even though they had the caps on it, when we took it off, there's a lot of water in there. We don't want the bearings getting ruined in the differential and everything too. But yeah, take a look at this thing inside. Not a big fan of the white, just because it's cautious for us to get in and out of it without messing it up. Very stock dash, but a lot of those gauges were not working when we pulled it up here yesterday. But that's, as long as we get them a working oil pressure gauge and the correct temperature, engine temperature gauge, that's all I'm worried about. And air pressure gauge, obviously. But yeah, this is, I'm not gonna step on this carpet because I don't want to. Well, isn't this beautiful? Very nice bus. So well worth the money. I mean, it was $4,600 to have it towed here to our place. If I would have known everything about the engine I know about it, I probably would have told him. He probably could have drove it here. When they get coolant going into the oil like that, it's not a lot. There's just some. But probably wouldn't damage anything anymore if you can keep it cool. It's wintertime, you know, in the 40s outside. Probably could have made it. You just leave the radiator cap off on it so it doesn't build up any pressure. So there's no pressurization in the cooling system, and that slows down the amount of coolant going into the engine greatly. And probably could have drove it here instead of messed with having it towed. But everything that I know that he told me it needed a rebuild. It got overheated. The big dealership down there said it needs a rebuild. That's where it was at. So it's amazing. And when I fired it up, it was only, you know, 45, 48 degrees outside, something like that. And this thing started right up within a couple revolutions. That was pretty impressive. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the pistons, nothing wrong with the liners, other than if it's got may have a cracked liner from the heat that would cause it, but it's probably an O-ring failure behind it, or an issue with a head, hopefully, not both, just one. And if everything goes right, luckily it'd be this side because that's a lot easier to get to. So that means it's going to be that side. That's how it works for us. So stay tuned on this. We were going to get it in today, but unfortunately we got some sickness going around here on the property, and Jonathan's out sick today, and it's the weekend, and we got a bunch of buses coming in over the weekend, so it won't make it into the shop till next week. I went to pull Lenny out of the bus yesterday to pull this in, and Lenny currently has his clutch disc is stuck to his flywheel on it. I can't get it to unstick, so I'm gonna have to jack him up, start it in gear, and jack on the brakes real hard and get the clutch to break free from the flywheel because it's just stuck on there. I can't get it out of gear or in gear. It's just, I washed it when Oz was here and then put it away and hadn't moved it since, and I think it just that moisture from washing it caused it to rust. But yeah, this bus should get a lot of work here, but nothing like what he thought it was going to be. Let's hope when we tear into the engine next week, we'll see what's going on, and it's not going to be anything that major at all. That'll be awesome. I love when a client thinks he needs a rebuild and we tell him he doesn't. So it's still a big deal to take a head off, though. It's not a small job by any means. And the fact that we're dropping the oil pan too, we're nearly the way there of doing a rebuild on it. But parts wise, it's going to save him $5,000 to $6,000.
See that white smoke rising up the holler through the trees, and from a mile away you can hear them play as they climb that hill with ease. But at the top of that mountain there's a new life waiting for those who can make the run. If they can make it to the top, Scott will put them in the shop till their new life has begun. Mountain, where the buses come to run.